My fiancée's friends laughed at my proposal for being cheap, so I canceled the wedding publicly and watched her reputation crumble instantly. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I thought proposing to the love of my life would be the happiest moment of my life. For months, I'd been planning it, working extra hours, cutting corners wherever I could, skipping dinners out and random splurges because I wanted to do it right. Not lavish, not showy, just right. Something that felt like us. Claire and I met 5 years ago at a small park on the edge of town. It wasn't anything special, just a quiet place with a lake, a few benches, and old oak trees that turned gold in autumn. But it was where she first smiled at me over spilled coffee, where we shared our first kiss, where I first told her I loved her. So when it came time to propose, there was no question where it would happen. The ring wasn't expensive. It was a modest solitaire diamond set on a simple silver band. I picked it because it looked like her elegant without trying. She'd always told me she didn't care about material things. "I just want something that means something," she used to say, and I believed her. That evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, I got down on one knee by the lake. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the box. She gasped, covered her mouth, and whispered, "Oh my God, yes." Before I could even finish my sentence, for a moment, everything around us disappeared. Just her eyes shining, tears streaming, her arms around me as she said yes over and over again. The world felt small, perfect, complete. I didn't know it then, but that would be the last time I'd ever feel truly safe with her, because a few days later, that same ring, the one I worked so hard to buy, would become the reason I'd start doubting everything. I thought I knew about love a few days after the proposal. Claire decided to host a small get-together with her closest friends to celebrate. I remember being nervous, but proud, ready to show the woman I loved to the people who mattered most to her. I walked into her apartment with a bottle of wine in one hand and a heart full of gratitude in the other. The moment I entered, her friends swarmed her, screaming, hugging, admiring the ring. At first I thought the excitement was genuine, until I caught the tone behind their laughter. One of them, a tall blonde named Jenna, leaned close to another and whispered, "It's cute. Kind of tiny though, right?" Another chuckled, "Budget-friendly is in this year." Then came the one that sliced through me like a blade. At least he didn't use a vending machine. They all laughed, loudly, carelessly, like my effort. My months of saving and planning was a cheap joke at a dinner table. I froze. My throat went dry, my palms burned. I looked at Claire, waiting for her to say something, anything. To defend me, or at least to remind them that this moment wasn't about the price tag, but she just laughed. Not the kind of laugh that says stop, but the kind that says don't take it too seriously. When our eyes met, she gave me that awkward, dismissive smile people give when they want you to just let it go. So I did. I smiled tightly, forced a chuckle, and pretended it didn't sting. The rest of the evening blurred together. I remember her showing off the ring again, saying, "It's simple, but it's meaningful," with a tone that felt almost apologetic. That night, lying beside her, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard their laughter echoing in my head. And for the first time, a tiny, ugly thought crept in: maybe love wasn't enough for her after all. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my coffee, replaying every word in my head. The laughter, the looks, the way Claire just stood there smiling like nothing was wrong. I finally asked her about it, trying to stay calm. "Claire," I said quietly, "why didn't you say something last night?" "They were mocking the ring." "Mocking me," she sighed, rolling her eyes as she buttered her toast. "Oh, come on. You're overreacting. They were just joking around. You know how girls are." I didn't. And even if I did, that wasn't an excuse. "It didn't feel like a joke," I told her. "It felt cruel." She looked at me for a moment, her expression softening, but only slightly. "Babe, don't take it so personally. They didn't mean anything by it. They just have a different sense of humor." Then she added, almost under her breath, "Besides, maybe they weren't wrong yet. It's kind of a minimalist ring." That one word, minimalist, stuck in my mind like a splinter. Later that day, I saw her Instagram post, a close-up of her hand. The caption reading, "He proposed simple ring, big love." The comments poured in. Some sweet, some not, but a few. So chic for someone on a budget. Tiny, but cute. Ah, humble beginnings. And she replied to every one with laughing emojis. That night, she casually mentioned that maybe we could upgrade the ring someday. "You know, once we're more settled financially," she said, like she was discussing changing a sofa, not a symbol of commitment. I smiled weakly, pretending it didn't bother me. But something inside had shifted. The laughter from that night no longer felt isolated. It felt like the first crack in something I thought was unbreakable. I told myself it was just pre-wedding stress, but deep down, I was starting to realize the truth. The woman I loved might have been wearing a mask this whole time. Over the next few weeks, the engagement felt less like a celebration and more like a performance. I hadn't agreed to join. Claire's friends took over everything: group chats about venues, dress fittings, floral arrangements, and photographers I couldn't even afford to Google without breaking into a sweat. Every conversation revolved around money, aesthetics, and image. At first, I tried to contribute. I suggested a cozy outdoor wedding at a local vineyard, intimate, romantic, affordable. But before I could even finish describing it, Jenna wrinkled her nose. "That's cute." "For a birthday party," she said with a smirk. Another chimed in. "Claire deserves something grand. She's not really the rustic type." Claire didn't defend me. She just smiled awkwardly and said, "We'll see what fits the budget." But later that night, she admitted, "My friends just have higher standards. We'll figure it out." Those words, higher standards, hit harder than I wanted to admit. I wasn't jealous of their money. I just hated how small I suddenly felt beside them. I'd worked hard for everything I had. I thought that mattered. But to them, effort meant nothing if it didn't come wrapped in luxury. The more they planned, the less I recognized the woman I'd proposed to. The girl who once said she wanted a simple backyard ceremony now talked about designer dresses, 5-course dinners, and drone footage for cinematic vows. I could barely keep up. One evening, I overheard her on the phone saying, "I just want it to look good in photos." That sentence echoed in my head for hours. I started realizing that somewhere along the way, the meaning of our wedding had changed. It wasn't about love or commitment anymore, it was about perception. And slowly, painfully, I began to feel like a guest at my own engagement, an accessory in her dream of perfection. And the worst part, I still couldn't bring myself to walk away. Asterisk, I should have known things were about to get worse when Claire said, "My mom wants to have dinner with us. She just wants to help." That word "help" turned out to be a cruel joke. We met at her parents' house, a place that looked more like a showroom than a home. Her mother greeted me with that tight, polite smile that never reached her eyes. Her father barely looked up from his tablet. Dinner started off civil enough, small talk about work, family, wedding plans. But soon, the conversation shifted. "So," her mother began, dabbing her mouth with a napkin, "Claire tells us you're planning a modest ceremony." The way she emphasized modest felt like a slap. "That's sweet, dear. But you do realize appearances matter, especially for a first impression." I smiled politely. "We just want something intimate, meaningful." Her father snorted. "Meaningful doesn't have to mean cheap." I felt my chest tighten. It's not about being cheap. It's about doing what's within our means. Her mother leaned forward. "Have you considered a small loan? You can always pay it off later. Think of it as an investment." In presentation, I looked to Claire, desperate for her to step in, to say, "Mom, that's enough." But she stayed quiet, eyes fixed on her plate. That silence said everything. I forced a chuckle. "I'm not taking on debt for a one-day event." Her mother's lips curled. "Well, my daughter deserves a proper wedding. Something people will remember." That word paprikoed in my head all night. I realized this wasn't about love anymore. It was about status, about the image they wanted to project, not the life we were building. When we left, Claire didn't say much. She just murmured, "They're just trying to help." But I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that she agreed with them, for the first time. A quiet voice inside me whispered a question I didn't want to face. Did she love me, or the version of me she wanted to show the world? It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was at my desk finalizing guest lists and double-checking addresses for the invitations. Claire was out shopping with her friends, so the apartment was silent except for the hum of my laptop. My phone buzzed beside me, her name lighting up the screen. I assumed it was a quick text about colors or flowers, but when I opened it, my stomach dropped. It wasn't a message to me. It was a screenshot from her group chat, accidentally forwarded. At the top, the chat name read, The Glam Squad. My name was nowhere in the members list. The message thread showed my proposal photos, the ones I'd taken with shaky hands, the ones that meant the world to me. But beneath them were comments that made my chest go numb. Ah, it's cute. Like a high school promise ring. At least she can upgrade once they're married. She's glowing, but that ring, not so much. Imagine saying yes to that. I kept scrolling, my heart hammering. Claire hadn't defended me once. No stop, or that's enough. Just laughing emoji. And one message from her that crushed me completely. Haha, stop, you guys are terrible. But yeah, it's definitely not what I expected. That sentence, that one casual confession that I'd fallen short of her expectations. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped my phone. I read it again and again, hoping I was misinterpreting it. But there it was, in her own words, proof that everything I'd believed about us, about her, was built on illusion. I stared at the ring box on the shelf, the same one that once represented love, sacrifice, and hope. Now, it just looked like evidence of a man who'd given his all to someone who saw it as not enough. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. I finally saw who Claire really was. And it terrified me when Claire came home that evening, shopping bags dangling from her arms. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my phone face up in front of me. She smiled when she saw me until she noticed my expression. She asked cautiously. I didn't answer right away. I just slid the phone across the table. Her eyes darted to the screen, and I watched her face pale as she realized what I'd seen. "Oh my God," she muttered, reaching for it, but I stopped her hand. "Don't," I said quietly. "Just don't." There was a long, heavy silence before she finally sighed. "Look, babe, they didn't mean it like that. You know how they joke around?" I stared at her, disbelief tightening in my chest. Joke around. They mocked everything I did for you. Everything I thought meant something. And you laughed with them. Her tone sharpened. What was I supposed to do? Start a fight with my friends in a group chat? That would have made things worse. I shook my head slowly. No, Claire, you were supposed to respect me. She crossed her arms, defensive now. I didn't want to make it a big deal. I was embarrassed. Okay, the ring wasn't what I expected, and I didn't want to deal with their comments. Her words cut deeper than she probably intended. Embarrassed. That's what I was to her, something to be hidden. Softened, explained away. I stood up, every emotion, shock, anger, grief colliding into something cold and steady. You know, I said quietly, I thought I was marrying someone who loved me, not someone who loved what other people think of her. She tried to call after me, but I couldn't listen anymore. I walked out, the sound of her voice fading behind me. Outside, the air felt sharp, almost electric. My humiliation burned into something new, something deliberate. I didn't know how yet, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next few days felt eerily calm to calm, like the quiet before a storm you can sense but can't yet see. Claire started calling me constantly, her voice softer, gentler. I made a mistake, she said one night. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just panicked. Can we please move past this? I wanted to believe her. I really did, but every word felt rehearsed, carefully chosen, like she was performing damage control, not remorse. When I didn't respond right away, she started posting again pictures of us from happier days. Captions like every couple has ups and downs, and can't wait to marry my best friend. Her friends commented hearts and congratulations, acting like nothing had ever happened. I realized what she was doing, rebuilding the image, not the relationship. To everyone watching online, we were the picture-perfect couple again. But behind that screen, I was a ghost present in photos. Gone in truth, when she invited me over to talk, she greeted me with hugs, kisses, and promises to make things right. She even cooked my favorite meal. But the moment I saw her scrolling through her phone mid-conversation, checking notifications from the very same group chat, I knew nothing had changed. I smiled politely, told her I needed time, and left. But inside, I'd already made my decision. I wasn't going to argue, plead, or post anything petty. I didn't need revenge built on emotion. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. That night, I started making quiet preparations, collecting screenshots, saving messages, confirming the engagement, party details she'd bragged about online. She wanted the world to see a perfect love story. Fine, the world would see something but not the story she scripted, and when it happened, she wouldn't be able to spin it, delete it, or laugh it off. Because I wasn't planning to yell. I was planning to show. A week later, Claire texted me the big news. Her friends were organizing an extravagant engagement party, complete with a professional photographer, live music, and a live stream for social media. She called it our public comeback, but the way she phrased it, perfect PR, made my skin crawl. Still, I smiled, nodded, and said, "Of course, whatever you want." From that moment, I played the part. The doting fiancé, the calm, collected man who'd forgiven everything. I showed up when needed, smiled for pictures, let her friends gush about how strong we were for working through things. Every smile I gave was practiced. Every word I spoke was measured. Meanwhile, I was preparing something entirely different. I had all the messages saved. Every cruel comment, every mocking emoji, every word she'd typed behind my back, and I knew exactly when to use them. The night of the event arrived. The venue glowed with gold lights, champagne glasses clinking as laughter filled the air. Her friends wore matching dresses, taking endless selfies under banners that read, "Forever starts now." Claire looked radiant, every inch the influencer, bride-to-be. She was in her element, surrounded by admiration. Then came the moment she'd been waiting for. The host handed me the microphone. "Say a few words to your beautiful fiancée," he said, winking. Claire smiled at me, expectant, her hand resting lightly over her chest. My heart pounded, but my face stayed calm. I walked onto the small stage, microphone in hand, scanning the crowd. Dozens of faces stared back, friends, family, cameras, phones, a sea of people ready for a speech about love, growth, forgiveness. I took a slow breath, met Claire's eyes, and smiled. "Thank you all for being here," I began softly. "Tonight's about honesty, love, and truth." I saw her smile falter just slightly as the projector behind me flickered to life. I took a deep breath, the microphone cool and heavy in my hand. The room hushed instantly, the buzz of conversation dying as dozens of curious faces turned toward me. Claire stood near the front, glowing under the soft lights, her smile wide and camera-ready. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady. "For celebrating what was supposed to be the start of our forever." A few people clapped politely. Claire beamed, probably expecting a heartfelt speech about overcoming challenges. I continued. "I remember the night I proposed to Claire. It wasn't extravagant or flashy, just a people who loved each other in the place where it all began. I thought it was perfect. I thought we were perfect." A ripple of emotion passed through the crowd. I could see her friends whispering, waiting for the fairy tale ending. "But," I said softly, "sometimes love looks different depending on who's watching." That's when I pressed the remote in my pocket. Behind me, the projector flickered to life. A few seconds later, the giant screen filled with text messages from the Glam Squad. At first, there was confusion. Then the words sank in. "At least she can upgrade once they're married. She deserves better than that cheap ring." "Haha, stop. You guys are terrible." "But yeah, it's not what I expected." Gasps filled the room. One woman covered her mouth. Another dropped her drink. Claire went pale, frozen in place as her friends' faces twisted in horror. I turned back to the audience and said quietly, "This is what love looks like to them, but not to me." Silence. No music, no applause. Just the sound of phones recording and Claire whispering, "Stop, please, stop." I took off the microphone, set it on the table, and said clearly, "There will be no wedding." Then I walked out through the crowd past her, past the shock, past the fake smiles into the night, and for the first time in months, I finally felt free. By morning, my phone was buzzing nonstop, not from Claire, but from notifications. The videos were everywhere. Clips of my calm speech, the gasps, the projected messages, it all spread like wildfire. The viral broken engagement. One headline read, another simply said, "He exposed her in front of everyone." Social media did what social media always does, it tore through the story like wildfire. Some people praised me for standing up for myself. Others dissected every detail, slowing down clips to catch Claire's expression when the screenshots appeared. By noon, the video had over 2 million views. Her friends started scrambling immediately. Jenna posted a teary apology video claiming she didn't mean any harm. Another tried to paint herself as a victim, saying she had warned Claire not to take the jokes too far. The group chat leaked in full within hours, turns out. I wasn't the only one who had saved evidence. Claire, though, she stayed silent for 2 days. Then came the desperate messages, paragraphs filled with, "I'm so sorry, please talk to me. I never meant for it to go that far." I didn't reply. I didn't even open most of them. Then came the last one. "Can we at least meet? Just once, please." I hovered over the message for a long time before finally blocking her. I didn't do it out of spite. I just didn't have anything left to say. The truth was already out there, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to erase. For the first time in months, I didn't need to defend myself or explain what had happened. The world had seen it for what it was. That night, as I sat on my balcony watching the city lights flicker, I felt something I hadn't felt since that first night in the park with her. Not love, not anger. Peace. It's been 8 months since that night. The night everything I thought I wanted fell apart in front of a room full of strangers and a million people online. I've moved to a new city now. It's smaller, quieter, and I wake up to the sound of birds instead of phone notifications. I work with my hands again, rebuilding furniture, repairing old things, turning what's broken into something whole. Somehow it feels poetic. Every once in a while, someone recognizes me. They'll stop me at a coffee shop or a market and say, "Hey, you're that guy from the video." I smile politely, nod, and keep moving. I'm not ashamed anymore. That moment, humiliating as it was, freed me from something I didn't even realize was trapping me. I kept the ring, not because I couldn't sell it, but because I didn't want to. It sits in a small wooden box on my workbench. I look at it sometimes, not with pain, but gratitude. It used to represent everything I lost. Now, it reminds me of what I refused to become. Claire tried reaching out once more in email this time. I never opened it. I didn't need to. I already knew what it would say. Apologies don't mean much when they come after exposure, not introspection. She didn't want me back. She wanted her image back. Life is simpler now. No staged photos, no fake smiles, no pressure to be enough for someone who never valued what truly mattered. I spend my evenings walking by the lake, the same kind of place where I once believed forever began, and every time I watch the water catch the sunset, I think back to that proposal and whisper to myself, I thought I lost love that day. But what I really lost was someone who only loved the spotlight. And honestly, that's the best thing I've ever let go of.